is going on, guys? Welcome to the Wednesday live stream. Today we got O on today, and we are talking about reefer mistakes, disasters, all that fun reefing drama stuff that we've probably done or didn't do, or things that we should have changed. But yeah, should be a good one today. Nice glasses, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. You're
Thank you
you're
very much.
you're ready for the blue lights. I can tell.
I am. I stole these from Greg.
Solid.
Flip down. I stole these from Greg. So,
It's pretty cool, actually.
yeah, I like them. I
Oh,
like them.
huh. That's pretty cool. As a slight
Every,
80s vibe slash reefer vibe is good.
you know what? There was, oh my gosh, there was there was a show, A Different World, and it had a guy named Dwayne Wade on it, and
Yeah.
he wore these flip down sunglasses, and yeah, that was awesome.
Nice. Uh, so even before the stream started in the chat, Geek Moto, oh, I made it some doozies in the past month. Just cracked my brand new frag tank. Oh, that sucks. I had to
I'm
see him on
sorry, man.
Sunday dump 50 gallons of water on the basement floor. That one definitely sucks, buddy. Whew,
You
yep.
did? You did?
Not me. Geek Domo in the chat. I've had a tank crack once. That was probably one of my worst ones. That sucked. Have you done that?
You know what?
Had it?
That's never happened to me.
No?
Never really had a leak, but thank God. You know what? You guys are making me feel better about myself.
You're like, no big disasters. No,
I
my
thought it was going to be me
yep.
sharing, like all the weird stuff I've done, but I feel better already.
Just tap you to brighten your day, man.
I'm tr- I'm trying to close all my windows because I didn't realize how many windows I have open there. Jeez.
I know. I just restarted before because I had too many to deal with them. That's it. Everything's gone. Reboot. So, back in my early, I think I've told the story before. Back in my early days of reefing, I had a tank crack, which sucked. It was only 24 gallons, but it still was a lot at the time. But it was one of those innovative marine bent glass with the rounded corners, which looked awesome. But that was a stress point.
You
So
know who just who just had a tank crack? Greg, like leak his
yeah,
tank. He had a really cool tank and it leaked on him. And I think he replaced it with an innovative marine. So I
the
know.
new I think the new ones are fine. For me, it was like the bent glass because there's stress on it, right? If it's not like perfectly, and there's always a little bit of something on it. Yeah, but
But do you have any Red Sea tanks in your house?
I do not.
So
Do you?
no, not anymore. But I keep telling everyone this joke, and at some point it's going to get played out. But I go to the shows, and I
Mm-hmm.
just find it hilarious when I'm at the shows that Red Sea pays for premium space,
Yep.
and the fact is, there's some. I don't know. Listen, Red Sea probably sells more tanks than anyone else. So
Mm-hmm.
if Red Sea has a 0.5% failure rate, just by the nature of them selling more tanks than anyone else, you're going to have more failures number than anyone else. But I just find it that they pay for premium space. The last 3 shows I've been to, when you walk in, Red Sea is like right at the front. And then they're one of the only tank makers that don't have any water in their tanks. They're dry. So I just, I know, I find that kind of hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I find it funny. Like I do an internal chuckle every time. I think I'm gonna take this off now. I think the novelty had worn off.
That's fair. Oh, yeah, that is kind of a funny perspective on it.
Yeah, I yeah. Everyone else has eShops is doing tanks.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else who does tanks has water in it, but they don't.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Red
I've
Sea,
ne-
that's enough. And Red Sea has equipment. Like, okay, Orlando show. I think the
mm-hmm.
Orlando show, or maybe it was the New York show. I forgot which. It's these shows are starting to roll into one now. I don't remember if it was the New York show or the Orlando show, but there was. I think the New York show had 8 or 9 different tank manufacturers. Right? It had Nios, it had Max Spec, it had everyone who made a tank was there.
Yeah.
Everyone except for the only person that was missing was Innovative Marine and what? For, my gosh, I think the company I forgot who does even Aquarium had a tank. Like they had a booth and a small tank, and they got a tank giveaway. Red
Mm-hmm.
Sea, the only one. And Red Sea they have an entire ecosystem, right? So it would have been nice to just showcase a Red Sea tank with a reef mat, with your power heads, with your return pump, with your ATO, and their tanks were dry. So not just saying Red Sea, if you're listening, which you're probably not, that's an like put water in the tank. It would,
At least one display, right? Like it doesn't have to be everyone, but at least one would be
yeah,
good.
yeah.
I mean, it's an expense, right? Like you got to find a local person with coral and rock and everything else to fill it and do it. But still, I think it goes a long way to showcase it a bit more.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies. So listen, I don't want to get too much inside baseball, but a lot of times they partner with a local LFS to set up the tanks. That's what typically happens. And a lot of these tanks end up selling. Last year when I helped my LFS with these tanks, almost all of them end up selling.
Yeah.
So, hey,
well,
Red Sea,
who wants to take it all home when you can just sell it and someone else deals with it? I understand that logic. It's quite good.
So if you're the tank manufacturer, all you do is ship the tank there and everyone else takes care of everything else. You don't have to worry about getting it home, breaking it down. Just saying.
So, okay. On the note, so you've never had a tank leak, which is good. It's a good place to be. I've only had the one. Oh, this is a good one actually that's happened. Not sizing your sump big enough and your power goes out, your sump overflows. Have you ever done that?
No.
So I have had ones where the return nozzle got pushed way down, which drained way more into the sump and overcapacitated it. That's definitely happened before. So if some of the sumps that come with the tank aren't necessarily made to hold tons of excess. And if you add a bunch of lock line and move your nozzles around, they're too low. That is something you definitely got to take into account. And now this is something that you can prevent with drilling like a little hole in it and doing siphon breaks and whatnot. But I said a big mistake is probably not considering a siphon break for those type of situations.
Now, how do you, because from day one, so listen, I'm not saying I was smart when I did it. I just never encountered that. I'm now thinking, I think my first tank, and don't make fun of me, my first tank, I didn't realize you should top off with fresh water. It was one of those things. So it's never happened to me because my first tank, when I filled the sump, I just left the tank running until the return section went dry. Thankfully, I had like mag drive, which is like bulletproof, and you couldn't, even if that thing ran dry overnight and still worked when I plugged it back in. So there you go. But yeah, that's interesting. That never happened to me. And I'm not saying I was smart enough. It was just pure coincidence.
Yeah.
That happened.
I mean, I'm surprised it still worked afterwards. That's good. That's a lot of run dry time.
Oh, mag drives are. I don't know if I don't know very many people who destroyed a mag drive. I think they just get loud. I've literally seen someone take it outside and sort of beat it against the wall or something, and then it started running again.
Yeah.
Very scientific method for fixing mag drives, but they were loud. I don't think they were very efficient. They produced a ton of heat, but man, mag drives were reliable.
Just indestructible to an extent, eh?
Yeah. Burn Squirrel said letting the heater out of the water. I have to say, like, that's something stupid me still does to this day. Every now and again, right? Like once or twice. Now I have the BRS sort of heater, and but this happens to me way more than it should. Where for some reason I forget to turn off. I should probably make it so when you turn. I should probably make it so when you turn off the return pump, the heater turns off too, right? That seems like a no-brainer, but I think what happens in the winter is sometimes I turn off my thing for maintenance and I don't want the sump water getting too cold, right? Because at least the display has power heads going back and forth. Yep. But that happens to me, I would say once every 2 years that happens to me.
So preventative, put your heater somewhere where it can't run dry. Like not an overflow, like somewhere where it can't run dry.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, that would assume that I'm smart. to remember that.
You got this, buddy. You got this.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you about the mistake I made last week.
What'd you do?
Oh, it was a comedy of errors. I last week in Reefapalooza visited Greg's tank and saw Greg had a big open sump, right? Big open sump. I had a Refugium, and I love Refugiums. I think when Than was on, I was even in the comment defending Refugiums. I love to look at green algae.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I don't want to maintain it. It's in the back. So I was thinking about getting rid of it. When I saw Greg's tank with one big open sump, I said, all right, man, time to get rid of your Refugium. Now, the comedy of error started when I reached in to start to take out the live rock, and the tank got cloudy. I was like, geez, I didn't realize there was so much detritus back there. Even though the sump is all glass, because light's shining in the Refugium, there's algae on the side, so you can't see in it. That should have been the first clue. If I was smart, that should have been a clue.
Yep.
What was happening is I have a bean animal overflow, and there was more water than I thought going down the secondary drain, which went straight into the Refugium unfiltered. So that was the first mistake. The water was cloudy for hours. Second mistake is I then borrowed a shop vac from my LFS and put the shop vac back there. The shop vac really struggled, right, to get the mud. I'm going to call it mud or moam out. Yeah. That should have been your second clue. Like, that's my second mistake. I should have been my second clue that something was wrong. So I said, all right, I don't want to destroy this guy's, like shop vac. So I said, I'm going to cut the baffle out and then deal with the consequences. Little did I know, Dev, that there was like a 3 or 4, like the total area of the Refugium was about 12 inches front to back and about 30 inches left to right and about 10 inches high. I did not realize there was like a 3 to 4 inch of what I can only describe as moam back there, right?
Yeah.
And when I cut the baffle, imagine when I cut it's the way
nuclear winter into your display.
It's like it's like a landslide, like a mudslide, because I took a hobby knife and just cut the silicone and then sort of pulled it out once. I wish I had recorded this, but you imagine like a mudslide and me in slow motion. Yeah, it got over everything, and I didn't intend this to be an all-day project, so I didn't take my skimmer out. I didn't take my return pump out.
Did it suck in, just coat your display?
Well, at least it got over everything. I ended up having to do like a full sump cleanup, like a full on, like I needed to get like a little, I needed to wash it out multiple times, and then and because my hands was in it, I touched the tank. I think once I touched my couch, so there was like fingerprints. Even when I put the handle to open the door to go in the bathroom, there were like mud fingerprints. That was an entire cleanup by itself, dude.
Oh, jeez.
I'm still trying to understand how in 2 years I got 3 to 4 inches of moam back there.
Well, if you think about it, if you're not running like a filter roller, filter sock, anything, your Chaeto is essentially that. So it's going to catch it all, and eventually it works its way down, right, and just collects.
Yep. Yeah, it was. You know what miracle? I imagine that's what miracle mud is.
I mean, minus the trace elements, you're set.
So it was not pretty. It took all day to do it. It was not a pretty sight, dude. It was ugly. And I know I've read somewhere a long time ago that I think something by Mike Paletta that says, hey, when you have moam like that, it's supposed to be inert.
In theory.
But no, my phosphates have shot up since I did that project. So obviously something isn't right. So I went from 0.08. And by the way, I'm coming back from the last time I was on here, I was telling you how high my phosphates are. My phosphates are now 0.44. So there was something locked away in that moam that got released where I had a huge phosphate spike. So yeah, that's my mess up of the year.
You also removed your Refugium, which would have been absorbing phosphate. So you're just like double whammied on that front.
Yeah, my plan was to do more water changes, and I always have low nitrates, but my plan was to just replace that with GFO.
Yeah.
Because the cool thing is, I don't have it here, but the cool thing is under the Red Sea reef mat, there is a like a little filter tray. So without running another pump and running another reactor, I thought I could put GFO in a bag and put it there, which I am gonna do. I'm still mentally recovering from all the mud.
Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg's Reef in the chat. I had that gut feeling a couple times. Overall Slanthium by accident. Somehow the dose slider got set to on for 2 minutes.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's a lot of lanthium. That sucks. Mad water changes.
Devin, I think we lost your audio. Nope. Yep. I think it's yep, we all lost your sound. I thought it was me. While Devin's not here, I'm taking over the show. So this is the O show. Yay! He's in silent mode. Yep. All right. He lost my purple tank. Yeah, that was gonna be my question. Did you lose anything? My kid is fumbling around with stuff. Hold on. Yep. I didn't mute him. Wasn't me.
Here, I just swapped to a different input. We're back.
Are you gonna reboot and come back?
No, it's my AI noise thing. Something crashed, so I'm back to the mixer. We're back. Anyways, I was in the middle of a good story. Good work.
Wait, he's back?
Can you hear me?
Wait, now I can't hear him. What?
Okay, 1 second.
Come on, Dev. What did you do?
Okay, you should hear me now. Okay.
Oh yay!
Yeah. I had
What did
this.
you do?
No, I had an AI noise canceling thing to like kill background noise, and something crashed with that apparently. So I just went back to my mixer.
Your AI noise canceling?
I know the things I try and do.
What on earth?
So, anyways, back to the story I was in the middle of.
Yes. Sorry.
So I was on an airplane, taking off or about to, just killing time, waiting for the plane to take off. And I was like, oh, my alkalinity is low. Let me manually dose some. So I clicked the freaking elk slider to on. And then, I'm just counting in my head to like 2 minutes, just dose a bunch of elk, go to hit back to auto. But of course, I had like 1 bar of signal. So the Apex didn't get my command to put it back to auto. So it dosed my entire freaking couple liters of elk to the tank, which spiked it up to like 14 or 15 or whatever it was, 70. I don't remember what it was, but it was some ridiculous number. So yeah, that sucks. So yeah. Don't manually override your dosing controls when you have crappy internet signal.
Especially on an airplane.
Yeah, especially on an airplane. Not the best time to tweak your values. So
Did you lose everything?
No, thankfully. I got home and I'm pretty sure I did like a big brute water change, and I think I did another one the next day after that. And then I had all my dosing off and let it just kind of go back down in advance. I think I got it down to around 11 or 12 or something. Maybe it was 14, whatever it was. And then after a few big water changes, and just kind of let it naturally drop. But yeah, Yep. So that's
Cattle Garden says that was a creative screw up.
Thank you. So that's probably one of my good ones. The other ones, of course, would just be like overflowing RO bins and whatnot, until I learned the value of float valves on absolutely everything in sight. But there was another one in the chat from earlier, but saying too, of people using heaters but not realizing didn't have an internal thermostat and want to basically cook the tank at a fish store. You throw in a titanium one thinking it has a thermostat like a Eheim or something, and it doesn't. And it's just on. Especially if a high watt heater, that could be another really big one, not having a heater controller.
Yeah, I like the BRS, aka the Shergo ones, because I've been hearing about those for a while. This is the first heater in a while I've kept for multi years.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I usually, man, heaters usually give me so much issues that I usually toss them. Like I'll move them to my mixing bin after a year, and then sort of toss them out after.
You, I haven't actually changed mine in like years. Like I've been using the titanium ones on a heater controller, and they've been
Which ones do you use? Like the Phoenix?
The BRS ones right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, I haven't changed those since I probably 3 or 4 years I've
Yeah.
used it and it's been working. In fact, I left it on and it still works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you have a heater control on it? You better say yes.
I do. I
Okay,
use
good.
an Inkbird. I
Yeah.
use an Inkbird, and then the Inkbird does a really good job, and then the Apex, the Hydros, is the
Mm-hmm.
backup.
Yep. No, that's good.
Yeah.
Burnt squirrel. Another one I've realized is non-stainless steel screws and hardware rust over time. Yeah, salt water is not friendly to most materials. It gets in your water somehow. Bare wood absorbs water and starts to rot out. Yeah, so I mean, water on anything is trouble over time, right? Especially you got leaks if it's dripping on something. You drop screws in your tank. All that stuff's long-term trouble.
Yeah, I think we sort of expect to put this stuff
Mm-hmm.
and it for to be forget it, and in most instances it isn't. Like we're around salt water, like that destroys stuff, right? I know sometimes we talk about like we're using this thing for years and we're happy with it, but man,
Yep.
this stuff is really, really harsh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And I'm still convinced that there's a piece of metal in my tank that came off of my fragging that I have not found still. But hopefully one day it doesn't turn to trouble.
That is one that, you know what, also I gotta say that's also another reason I suspected the ups and downs I've had was because of heavy metals.
Yep.
That's one of the things I wanted to take the refugium out, like eliminate the risk, because now with one big open sump, if anything happens, I can, but with whatever happened, I
But
never
stuff
got
can
a
fall
chance
in the
to.
main tank too, though. Like,
Really? I'm not putting any. You know what?
okay,
You're right.
I'm pretty sure I've dropped some screws in while mounting radions. And I'm pretty
Really?
sure there's one in there somewhere still. It just falls out when you're doing it, especially I'm on the peninsula reaching over, doing weird positions. And I'm still fairly convinced that my fragging things, there was like those two little like bars to make it springy. One of them disappeared, and I'm like 99% sure it disappeared into my tank because I was cutting something, but I can't find it. So
You have sand, though, right?
I
You
do.
have sand.
No, but
Yeah.
it's not
So
that. It's like the corals. Like if you have a massive colony of freaking something, and it could be in there somewhere. I have no idea.
you know what? That's true.
Like,
That
how do
is
you
true.
get to it? And you can't. But if I can't find it, I can't even try to get to it. So it's like, ah.
That's true.
Yep.
True.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yep.
sorry.
So who knows? I mean, so far, nothing's terrible yet, but who knows? Other person, their pump magnets cracked and rust into the tank. Yeah, so magnets. A big thing with magnets too is, again, they can leach stuff, but if they are dropped or smacked together, a lot of the time, like they're usually reasonably well sealed. But if you let them smack together, or it falls off and smacks on the floor, all that stuff can make a micro crack, and then if water slowly seeps in, it's going to make a rust out. So be careful not to drop and be too rough on some of your magnet-containing products.
Those innovative marine aqua gadgets and also the two little fishies feeders, those I'm not saying immediately, but you should check those things regularly because I think over time they just um I've always had them over a period of the innovative marine ones, like really quickly.
I've had a few of those
Really
rust.
quickly, like
The
not even
blue
like,
algae ones? Yeah.
yeah, the blue algae, yeah, those are really quickly. And even
Mm-hmm.
I took one out once and I stored it in, I think in the bathroom
Mm-hmm.
beside, the shower and like the sink.
Yeah.
I put it there. And then I went back like 6 months later and it was so corroded and the magnet had swelled. And, my wife said, "Hey, it's because you put it there." I'm like, no, it's meant to be in salt water. Like the fact that it's in a moisture rich environment shouldn't, right? It's supposed to be in water. It's made for water. So
Yep. You would
those
think.
don't last me any time. The two little fishies one, they last me a while. I'm just telling people to just keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on any magnet. The
So
magnets I trust the most are probably the Tunzi ones.
you need a tons of algae feeder. I Yeah, I've had two or three the innovative marine, the blue ones, rust up on me. The two little fishies, I don't think I have, but at the same time, the magnet's inside, and I can hear one rattling around. So maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I've never popped it open to look, but
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Just keep an eye on it. Just keep an eye on
Mhm.
anything that's make it a part of, whatever you do, your annual maintenance. Just look at the stuff, see what's corroded,
Clean your
see.
pumps once in a while.
Yeah, that's good advice, man.
You
That's
know,
good advice.
it's a good chance to look at it when you clean it.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's good advice. See how the stuff is running.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, reef with me. I added some leftover Dr. Tim's one and only instead of throwing it away. I dumped into my tank before it expired. Now my tank is cloudy. Should I do a water change or leave it? I'd probably leave it. I mean, it's possible you have a bacteria bloom going on. If it's still cloudy, tomorrow, then, probably worth a water change or something. But I know that product can add a bit of cloudy, so I wouldn't worry too much if you just did it. But
Reef with me. Is that Mina? I think that's Mina. I met him. He's a part of the Southern California Marine Aquarium Society.
nice.
I think I saw him a couple weeks ago. So if that's Mina, how you doing, Mina?
All right.
Salute to you. Nice guy.
Awesome.
And enjoyed. Hey,
Yes.
oh yeah, I hung out. I saw a couple of people here, including I think I saw Elise, Lisa. I don't know if it's Lisa, Alisa. Yeah, it was. Oh yeah, that is her. I know
Yeah.
the icon.
Mhm.
Man, it was fun hanging out with her. She's just a ball of energy.
Nice.
So yeah, it was fun. Dev, we missed you, man.
I know. Next
When are you
year
gonna
I'll
go
come.
on
Next
these
year I'll
trips?
come.
You said that last year.
Well, next year will be legit.
What about Orlando?
That's next year. Maybe there's hope.
California is just like an hour from you.
I know. Orlando's
Yeah.
always fun, but next year I'll see what I can do. There's
Or-
higher hopes.
Orlando is to me. Orlando is the most fun,
Agreed.
but the California show is my favorite
Really?
because of the club,
That's fair.
because Greg's club and the people, and I know folks, and the food.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in love with the food in California. I'm in love with the food. It's a nice area. It's Disney. You can walk around, but I'm in love with the food in California. I haven't had a bad experience with food going out. Granted, I have Greg and these guys making recommendations, but yeah,
They're taking the highlights, the good stuff. But yeah.
yeah. But Orlando, we all stay together in a hotel,
Mhm.
so it's more fun. We get more together time. But
Yeah.
California is my favorite show. Yeah.
There was I don't think you were there at the Orlando, the hurricane one, like 4 or 5 years ago. It was funny because we were semi stranded there because of the hurricane, because flights kept getting canceled. So we're just like all these shenanigans in the hotel afterwards. Like I have a photo of a bunch of us like inside of the fountain in the lobby, and we're like, because it was dead because everyone left, and there's like the handful of hardcores, and like we found these Jenga blocks. We're like standing on like chairs and tables doing like crazy high Jenga. I don't know. There's all kinds of shenanigans, but it was a lot of fun actually. So, going
Very
to
nice.
in the middle of a hurricane, I don't know. It was a fun adventure.
Yeah, Orlando. I don't know if it was the same hotel, but Orlando is now suites. The hotels are suites. It's on like a little resort where if you have the kiddo, there's like a little mini water park. But yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Alright.
I love the show. But next year though, I do want to check out some of the other shows. If it's within the time, Reefapalooza is always going to be first love, but I want to see some of the other shows. So
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. In the chat, Massey, I once put metal screws on a Bubble King skimmer. Although they usually come with titanium screws, so you probably use something else. Just until my plastic ones could be printed. When I changed them after a few hours, they're already giving brownish water. Yeah, it's crazy how quick salt water can start to corrode or rust certain things.
yeah.
Rodney, did you ever try dechlorinated tap water in a saltwater tank? I have not. Did the fish thrive or survive in tap? I think the fish would probably be fine. I'd be more worried about the corals. There is a guy local to me. I'm pretty sure I did a video on his tank, but he uses lake water in his tank, which is fresh.
Saltwater tank?
No, fresh water. No, no. In his saltwater tank, he uses lake water. instead of ROD, I like just lake water in his tanks, and his tanks are fine. So,
At work,
yep.
I buy salt water from Petco.
Mm-hmm.
They sell these sealed salt water. That's what I use. But then I buy distilled water from like CVS, and that's what I use in the top off.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that works. The tank does have some algae, but I think that's probably because there were no algae eaters. So I know Sunday I stopped by and added like a lawnmower blenny,
Mm-hmm.
but the fact that it had algae, I don't think is because of the tap water. I think it's because I just had 2 clownfish in there and there was no algae eaters.
Yeah. Yeah, that could do it.
Yeah.
There's okay. This could be a mistake. Not paying attention to your cleanup crew. Like it is, you cannot underestimate the value of creatures keeping your tank in check for you. If you have, like a diamond goby or something, or a sand sifting star, you have something cleaning your sand for you. Your sand can look great all the time. You never have to worry about vacuuming it. I have a buddy who was obsessed with getting a porcupine puffer. And I was like, it's going to be hard to have a reef tank. He's going to eat all your snails, blah, blah, blah. Now he's had all these algae issues, all these things, because he has no cleanup crew because the puffer eats it all. Right? So it's like a bit of a compromise. So you have to be replacing and doing all the work because you don't have biological, workers doing it for you. So I think that's another, kind of reefer mistake, is not considering, the utility of certain livestock in your systems.
So Thad has a question. I think it's aimed at me. He's like, isn't NYC water super clean? NYC water from a TDS perspective, I think is really low. It has a ton of sediments. So before I went to Reefapalooza, Than, I had a issue. I guess we can use this as a mistake. I don't know what, I guess I didn't change. I used dual membranes just to make water faster. That's not a good picture, but I don't know if you can see. How do I see this? Look at that for my membrane.
Ooh.
Yeah, I ended
dirty.
up changing like that. Oh, very dirty.
Mm-hmm.
So New York City water, the TDS might be low, but I think because we're rebuilding our pipes, we have a ton of sediments, like just dirt. They're flowing through 100-year-old pipes, and then through 100-year-old pipes, taking it all the way from upstate, because it's all gravity fed, and then the pipes in the buildings, who knows how old those pipes are, rusted. So yeah, our TDS is low, but yeah, we have a ton of sediments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's fair. Do you go through a lot of sediment filters on your RO?
I need to change those like every 2 months.
Okay. I find I do mine every like 4 to 6 months ish, roughly.
Every 2 months they get really bad. Again, I think we're also doing construction and
clean water across the infrastructure. Yep.
Tussie and a few other people local always tell me that, try to do less water changes during the summer. They always notice that they see more issues with their tanks in the summer. Mm-hmm. It's been something that's been said for years. It's been something that's being said for years. So at this point, I'm starting to believe it. It's like when something keeps being said, you believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's legit. Okay. Spencer, great title. The first 6 months of having saltwater, I calibrate my refractometer to 1.035 because I still have 35 ppt on the calibration bottle. Whew, corals did not appreciate it. Yeah, that's high. Someone up above... I think it was Geek don't whatever the name was. Sorry, that he same thing did his whole frag tank with I think it was like 1.43 or something because he didn't test it, and obviously all the corals didn't fare very well with it. So yeah, not calibrating or using like miscalibrated equipment, having your salinity out of whack is going to mess with a lot of things.
Out of whack, and same thing under like when you're when the instruments of measurement are not accurate or way off, you can really get yourself in some trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing is, that's one of those things when if you're in something for a while, it's almost like whatever corals you have, get used to it. So
and then
I've also seen a lot of detriment trying to correct something that's been happening for a while. Like if your salinity was 40 for a year and everything was surviving. I'm not going to say thriving, but surviving. Then trying to correct that overnight is probably going to, you know, probably piss everything off.
Yes, and that's the problem, because that's like your knee-jerk reactions, like, oh, we must fix this as soon as possible. But it probably got eased into that over months, right? And you don't necessarily want to fix it in 2 days. Like, you got to ease it back out, because corals are surprisingly adaptable, but they're not very fond of massive shifts right away. Yep.
I have something I just thought of. We're talking about reefing mistakes, but I don't know the answer to this one. I don't think there's an answer, at least for me. Buying the wrong equipment. But I don't know what the wrong equipment is, right? I probably know what the right equipment now, but that's after years and tens of thousands of dollars probably buying the wrong thing. Wrong thing could be too cheap, too expensive, you know, whatever it is, but I don't have the answer. But definitely buying the wrong equipment is probably the biggest mistake people make.
Well, yeah, I think another tricky thing is too, I know, at least for me, because I have, so many guests and weekly live streams and talking to so many different people, I'll be like, oh, that's a cool idea, I should try that. Oh, that's a good idea, I should try that. And I probably mess with my tank more than I should, just because of, doing these live streams and doing all these things, and I experiment a lot. But the tank would probably be happier if I just messed with it less. But same thing, I was bugging Adam the other day, half jokingly. I'm like, so have you messed with your tank way more since you started your podcast? And he's like, yep, probably. So same thing, right? Just because, you're talking to different people and you're like, oh, let's try this, let's try that. And I think over messing with your tank or over tinkering can cause trouble at the same time, because you're kind of not letting things stabilize as much as it could be.
Sentence me right now, because if you ask me why my tank probably doesn't look like yours or anyone else, that is my... Remember when I tried to start a tank and said no equipment, no controller?
Yeah.
I think I went like 3 months.
That's fair. Hey, so far I'm still controllerless on my Nano. Maybe one day it'll happen. I have controllers. I have like a Hydros and a JHL. I could easily throw it on it, but at the same time, I'm just like, well, let's keep it going for a while. So far, so good.
Yeah. I got no. Listen, I do need to stop messing with stuff, but I'm just gonna embrace technology, man. That's what my life is here for. I'm sure if I had, that's the part of the hobby that I absolutely love, right? I've always had tech focused hobbies, and I probably wouldn't love the hobby as much if it didn't have a tech side to it. So that I love, but I really need to stop to be more thoughtful about the changes I do to my tank, because through everything that's happening, auto feeder falling in, me and the Refugium, my greens, I got that thing as like a nub. That thing is huge. It seems to be like, even when my green slimer is hurting, something's wrong. But that thing right there is like almost bulletproof. Everything else, hey, I had so much nice color a couple weeks ago, and after my mud, everything is like, someone asked me like, oh, what's your tank doing? I'm like, everything is different shades of brown. You see 2 colors. You see all the corals. Everything is like different shades of brown. You have a green slimer, and then the recordias on the ground are colors. And then a Duncan that's still green. Everything else, this is supposed to be a Samacora, which in its happy state is brighter than this green Samacora. Is the brightest green I've ever seen in reefing. Oh, look at that compared to the green slimer. So this is a colony here, like brown, 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 brown. Yeah, everything.
Nice.
Yeah, I need to stop. I really need to be more thoughtful. But when I was in there, in my defense, when I was in there, I took the opportunity to rip stuff off. Like, I took out the ozone generator. I ripped stuff off.
I just had one to my office tank.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I had
ripped it off, took it out. I'm like, I'm not gonna put it back. I'm gonna stick to it. Took a bunch of stuff off, unplugged a bunch of things.
Oh, I took the calc off my tank for now. Oh, so do you know what happened to me the other day? Other fun. I come out and then there's like I thought I heard this beeping in the night. And I kind of got up and then nothing. I was like, the heck? In the morning, part of the floor is wet beside my tank. I'm like, what the hell?
Uh-oh.
So I had my calc reactor on top of a skimmer stand. And I guess the one side of those little screws, eventually they failed and it fell over. So whatever was overflowing out of the calc into my stand onto the floor.
Oh.
So
Did it destroy the floor? Because
no,
calc is like
it was
caustic.
fine. I mean, it was fine. It's a little crustier. I'm gonna shampoo it later, but it was okay. So that happened. So this is day one, and then it's okay. So I take it up, and it looks like there's like a little bit of a leak on my calc reactor now. So I'm like, okay, I gotta run like a new bead of glue around it or something. Like it probably got smacked or whatever. So that happened, and then a couple days later, I was like, what the f? Why is it leaking again? And then there's a leak from the calcium reactor from the uniseal. So I got to replace the freaking uniseal now. So I pulled that off. So I'm like, okay, I'll throw some dosing on there for now. And then I was like, okay, I have this other calcium reactor. So I put the other one back on the tank. So I have a different calcium reactor on right now until I get a new uniseal. So now I have a blend of dosing and a calcium reactor. So it's somewhat simplified because the calc's off for now.
Simplified. Wow. Somewhat. Now, I why do you have your calcium reactor has a uniseal? I'm just really surprised because I thought you bought that thing a couple years ago. Like I'm surprised you're still using uniseals.
That was the Geo one. So I know I have another one, like because you're supposed to replace them eventually, so I'm probably due for it. But it was custom made one, which is awesome. I mean, it's a couple dollar part. I just got to go find one to do it. But I have another calcium reactor that I pulled off the other tank when I swapped it. Because I'm like, okay, I don't need this on the NIOS yet because nothing's in there for corals. So I threw that one on my water box, and now it's all happy again. So
Yeah. See, you scare me. Again, I know
oh
when you say it's like a couple
yeah.
dollar part, and it's because I know you. Listen, I know I know when you got that custom. I remember you saying like that, and you added that's the one you added a Vectra to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised at Uniseal. Okay.
But I
All
mean,
right.
it was just like a super little pin leak, right? So I just got to replace the UCL. But I laughed because after that, I have like 4 different of those like new optical leak sensors in my cart. I'm going to add in freaking everywhere now for future.
Okay. All right.
So not using leak sensors, that's a mistake. Another
No.
mistake is silencing or turning off your alarm because it's annoying you for something, so you're not getting your alerts. That's another big mistake that I'm sure many have done. You're like, stop emailing me, off, not important. And then
How
something important
many
happens, you forget about it.
how many of us do that? That happens a lot more than you think. Like
Mm-hmm.
the Apex, we you set up an Apex and the pH, the defaults, you need to tweak the alarm settings, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it comes by maybe really tight.
Yep.
And you turn it off, and then when something happens and you're like, why didn't it alert me? Well, you turned off the alarm.
Yep.
That's like having a home security system and never arming it.
Yep. Pretty much.
I
Oh,
know.
I know.
I know. That is, you know what? That's a really big one. That's a big one. That is a big one. I'm gonna. That's a big one because that's one of those that's easily preventable. Whatever happened could have been preventable because
Oh,
it was
yes.
alerting you before it got out of hand. You just,
Yeah, you disabled it so you weren't getting alerted.
yeah,
Yeah, so your email alarm and other alarm switches should always be on auto. Never turn them off. Actually, all of your Apex switches, they should not be on or off. They should be on auto. Because if you're overriding it, then it's not going to do whatever your custom preventative coding is programmed to do. That's another good one. So don't use it as a smart power bar. It's a waste of money. Use it on auto and do the proper code to let it deal with whatever situation.
yep.
It's okay.
I got a question. Well, a comment here by Spencer. The Neptune ATK alarms can get a bitch much. Agreed.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. What I will say is, you can tweak the runtime. So I'm trying to pull up because I was
Oh,
having this issue with
yes.
my kids tank where the ATK is about 10 feet away from the actual tank. And
Mm-hmm.
what I realized is I needed to go in and tweak the runtime. So I'm just checking. So for me,
Yeah.
it's 10 minutes because it takes a long time to refill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think by default it's 5 minutes and it errors out. So I actually go in and change it to when it's on 10 minutes, then it turns off. So it takes a really long, because again, it's pumping, it's going up 6 feet and going between six. It's probably doing 15 feet total of head pressure. So 5 minutes is not enough to refill the tank. So sometimes you have to tweak the runtime on the ATK.
I tweaked the code on mine too. Same thing.
Yeah. There's the Neptune forums are great for this. So you can go in, don't use my 10-minute settings. I got to 10 minutes where, I didn't just go from 5 to 10. I went to 6, went to 7, went to 8, went to 9, and 10 happened to be the sweet spot. So
yep. Agreed. Rodney, what tank size for a single Solaris clownfish? At least 10 gallons, like in my mind. I have one in my 14-gallon tank on my desk.
Yeah. True.
And he's currently just chilling inside of a Ghani right now.
Hey, Dev, I got to tell you about something.
Speaking of,
I got to tell you. Ooh,
yeah.
I got to tell you about something I saw at Reefapalooza.
Yes.
You know what a Tunzi wave box is, right?
Yes.
So Panta Ray had a surge device. Panta Rai, sorry, they're gonna kill me because they finally told me how to pronounce it. It's not Panta Ray, it's Panta Rai.
Good to know.
It is a box. It still works by displacement, except it's a surge device.
It's like a little paddle, or what's it do?
You take your ECM pumps and you put it in the box, and it pushes the water out, and it's deflected like a surge. It works in the same principle as like a Carlson surge device, where like the buckets get filled and gravity and pressure, it empties. It works on that same premise. But I was really impressed by, they had it in a tank, and just how the water was just creating just massive water movement.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I actually just quickly Googled a little thingy. That does look neat. Okay. EIY Kumar, IE Kumar. What's better for nitrate controlled biopellets or a sulfur reactor? I'm not an overly big fan of biopellets because if you ever have a power outage and they can get really funky and that doses your tank, bad things can happen. So I've never personally used them. Sulfur denitrators can work very well. They take a while to build up. Again, I haven't used one, but I know they can work well. The thing that I have used that did work very well for me was, I don't know, it's probably like a biopellet material. It was from Orca Labs, something NitroGuard, I think it was, something like that. But anyways, you put it in your sump, and ideally with a little air bubble underneath it. And because my nitrates were like 80 or something crazy, and it brought them way down to reasonable over like a month or two, but it did it kind of gradually over a month or two, so it was just a very slow, nice drop. And that was like one of the best things that got rid of my crazy high nitrates.
Out of those two, I think I would choose neither. I think because biopellets is a form of like carbon dosing, I would just do vodka or vinegar. I tend to mix both. I like that because you have more, while you need a piece of equipment, you need a dosing pump or something to automate it, but I like the fact that I have more control. Right? You can up the dosing, and when you see your nitrates start to come down, you can slow down, you can tweak the dosing pump to go to a maintenance dose versus the biopellet. Like exactly what you said. Not only the power outage, but it's really hard to tweak or tune, right? You have to stop the reactor, you have to take out some biopellets. While a vodka, you just tune a dosing pump to just dose less.
Have you ever had any weird issues with dosing vodka or vinegar?
Not at when I do vodka. So I think vinegar, I get the best results personally mixing both. If I had to do one, I would do vodka because you're just dosing less. With vodka, when you're dosing high amounts, I find that you get some white sponge in my sump. It doesn't do anything. When you're dosing a lot of vinegar, it lowers your pH a bit. And I'm like a pH junkie, right? I suffer from low pH. So anything that sort of even temporarily depresses my pH. So I just mix both. I forgot the ratio, but I mix them and just dose them. And I don't have, listen, I have no scientific proof that one works better than the other. I'm just saying it's the best of both worlds. Someone a long time ago told me that they work a little bit different. One is ethanol, one is, So I just mix both because I'm looking to cast a wide enough net. But that's what I do, and I
Mm-hmm.
like it because so eventually I don't want to go over to the tank, but eventually I have a squirt bottle.
Yeah.
Like when my nitrates are low
Mm-hmm.
and I just want a maintenance dose, I literally just have a squirt bottle, and I just when I'm feeding the fish, I just squirt two things of whether it's no pox or vinegar vodka. I squirt it. I
Yeah.
think I think think that is what I switched to Reef Biofuel, which is the Brightwell version of carbon dosing. But yeah,
I have whatever the Tropic Marin one with the little squirt bottle is, like NP Bacto maybe, something
yeah,
like that. I have
the,
that sitting by my tank, and I give it a squirt like I'm gonna say daily-ish. I don't do it every day, but when I think of it, just for like to slowly lower my nitrates.
I think they're all variations of the same thing, Dev. So
They
I
are.
use vodka. I
Mm-hmm.
think if I'm not mistaken, I've heard people say no pox is a little bit of sugar, vodka, vinegar mixed together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're all it's carbon dosing at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They're different formulas to feed the bacteria to deal with it.
Yeah.
Question about diatoms. What do they feed off of when nitrates are low? Usually silicates. Could be other stuff, but I know silicates can be a big one.
I think you stop dosing all of these you stop dosing, or you go into what's called a maintenance dose once you've lowered the nitrate,
Mm-hmm.
because you need to dose a lot of it, a specific amount to bring the nitrates down, and then when you get low, you dose a maintenance dose.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but if you're doing any of these, expect your skimmate to be really
Nasty.
extra spicy.
Unless you use ozone, then it's less nasty. It still smells, but it's not as bad. That is one big benefit of ozone as like a byproduct. Is like it still stinks, but it's not like as pungent.
I tip kalkwasser into my skimmer cup, and it works for me.
I've heard
It's
of
just
that.
extra kalkwasser. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
extra kalkwasser, but you have to clean the skimmer cup. It gets crusty in there, and then it's a lot of work to clean it. When it's time to clean it, it's a lot more work to clean it, but it works. It
Hmm.
works for me. It lowers the smell by a lot.
Nice. That's promising.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these things make stuff smell less funky is good. I don't know why, but they quit making them for now. But there was something I bought a while back called like Stink Sink or whatever, and it was like basically a little topper to put carbon on top of your skimmer. And I was like, that's actually a really good idea. And then for whatever reason, he quit making them for a bit. And I told him he should bring it back because I thought it was cool. But I'm using it just with a bit of soda lime on top now as like a little recirculating scrubber. I kind of modified it, but
Yeah, I saw what you made with it. And I think once I went to like the grocery store and cut a piece of plastic,
mm-hmm.
sorry, cut a piece of plastic, and it looked really ugly, but it worked. And then
Yeah.
you just put some carbon in it or put a carbon bag in it. For a ridiculous amount of money, if you have a Royal Exclusive, I don't think they sell it in the US, but Royal Exclusive actually sells. They're on the Royal Exclusive website, but there's some things that probably about this. So the holes on your Royal Exclusive skimmer,
Mm-hmm.
they sell these little. I don't know. It's about the size of, let's say, or a little bigger than your, let's say, a silencer on a skimmer,
Yeah.
and it literally plugs into the holes and have carbon. You put
Ah,
carbon in it. So,
hmm.
but for what it's worth, Dev, it's like 80,
$100
$90. Yeah,
for an old film canister.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
don't bring it to the US.
Hmm.
I've asked, like why they don't have it in the US, but yeah.
On my future to-do list is to make like a tray, like a basically. Actually, I looked at it. If you look up like tortilla container type of things, like for keeping them,
Uh-huh.
it's basically like yay thick cylinder with a lid. Something like that, but like 3D print something for the different skimmer sizes that you can load up with either carbon or like soda lime pellets to like suck CO2. Like I want to build just like a little skimmer topper that does that. It's on my future to-do list. Something pretty in 3D printed that will just look good and serve the purpose.
Okay, I think you can.
Matt's
I
Reef. A bit of hydrogen peroxide in the skimmer cup help with smell, make it use clean. Haven't tried that yet. I shall try it.
I was trying to find the thing accessories. I'm trying to find the. I think you'd like it. I really think it's cool. It's a
Yeah.
great idea. It's a really great idea, but
Slightly overly priced.
expensive for what it is though. But it's Royal
But
exclusive.
that's
So
everything Royal exclusive.
yeah, it's called anti-smell. So you know what? Now that I'm looking at it, it's actually not that expensive. Interesting. I'm gonna put it in the
26
chat here.
euros.
Yeah, for the small, there's two.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it in the chat. There's two. But it's also neutralizes ozone. But it looks really. I think so. You know, if you listen, anyone who's buying Royal exclusive, you care about aesthetics. So I think it works well for that. I put the link in the chat, but I think it looks cool. But you'll need 3 of them.
25 for 4 of them, I think. That's not terrible. That's not bad.
It depends on the skimmer you want, but yeah, for 4. You can also buy 3 and then put stoppers. They sell stoppers. You can get stoppers, Dev, for a good old price of you can get the stoppers to stop it for $1 each. You can get the stoppers.
Well, there you go. So, or if you're on a budget, just put a piece of tape over it.
But it won't fit with the Royal exclusive red and white.
White tape, white electrical tape. Break off a pencil eraser? I don't know. There's a will, there's a way. Good to see Kikimoto. A question for you. Do you have a Mandarin goby and what do you feed him? He is self-sufficient. I feed nothing specific, but I also have a 200-gallon tank with lots of pots, so he just does his own thing. He will periodically go for mysis, which I broadcast feed to the tank almost nightly. But otherwise, yeah, just pods. Like, he's constantly grazing. I do have plans of that. I kind of think I'm going to go with a ruby red for the one in the tank beside me, just because they're cool once I get a lid and let the tank establish a bit more. But they're jumpers, so I'm definitely going to wait for a lid on that one. But yeah, no, as long as your tank has been up for a while and established at a decent size, then copepods will kind of sustain them, as long as you don't have anything else out-competing them.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't think I've had success, and I haven't tried one in a while, so...
Yeah,
I have bare bottom, which I think doesn't really help.
Help.
And I just took the Refugium out, so I don't think I'll be getting one of those anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a fair point. But yeah, you don't want to do it a brand new tank. Like, make sure your tank's, once you're like a year into a tank, it's established, there's tons of microfauna, little creatures in there, then you're probably safe. Perfect world, get one that's eating mysis already, then you're supplementing on top of it. But.
Someone said Joshua Malia said he put table salt instead of real salt and killed this fish.
Oh, yikes.
Wow. That's the first time I've ever heard that.
I wonder how, obviously it wasn't a good idea, but how different table salt is. Like sodium chloride, like obviously it's missing the trace elements and like all the added stuff into it, but that's the main, if it's the sodium chloride is salt, right?
Yes.
And if that's
straight salt,
probably like 80% of what's in that bucket. I don't know. Not that I'm going to try it, but I wonder like how drastically different it is. You know what I mean?
That's true. I don't know.
I don't know.
If that means the fish probably depend on the trace elements more than we thought.
Mm-hmm. Because I know in freshwater, it was like a thing that you could like get salt for like some kind of a disease treatment or something like that. Like I remember like there was like aquarium salt, which to me was just straight up like regular salt. So I don't know.
I think that's for freshwater, because I think cichlids in certain tanks require some salt. Because what I do see by LFS, they'll put a cup of table salt or a cup of aquarium salt and put it in the side of the tank and let it diffuse into the over time. Yep. So I think I know nothing about freshwater, so I think it has a little bit to do with freshwater.
An undisclosed reefer. My wife smuggled hermit crabs from the beach in Mexico and uses those small salt packets in a bottle of water. They lived and were the craziest blue legs ever. So that's what I mean. Like they killed all other hermits. Yeah, so they're gangsters. They're like cartel hermits. But No, but no, you just said you use table salt packets in water. That's what I mean. Like, I obviously it would be a terrible idea for corals, but I'm like, fish and inverts maybe. Like, long term, it's probably a terrible idea because they wouldn't have the proper stuff to like molt and all that stuff. They wouldn't have all those elements. So I don't know. I'm not recommending it, but I think it could be like possible like short term or is like supplemental, but not lots of iodine table salt. Yeah, I mean, if you're using your Himalayan pink salt versus a packet of whatever from the thing, like I don't know, there's so many variables.
Um, Snoop Dogg Reef. He said craziest blue legs ever. Craziest in color, because one thing I do notice, my LFS every now and again gets in Papua New Guinea clownfish. And as soon as you walk in the store and you walk past it, you immediately know that there's something different about these clownfish, right? Like wild caught clownfish are amazing colors.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Like the captive bred clownfish have nothing on a wild caught clownfish in terms of coloration. The coloration, maybe it's a diet. Maybe it's a diet. The coloration is so deep. So
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's what he's talking about in terms of crazy, like they just crazy colors because they were getting like a natural diet.
Yep. Could be. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. Joshua Malia said, thank you for not judging. It wasn't easy. Hey,
Yep.
I know we haven't discussed it, but I think I am the person who's the most creative at killing their tank. Um, my claim to fame in this hobby is I overdosed my tank with kalkwasser one time. And Craig Bigman, who is respected, when he was having a talk at MACNA a couple years ago, he used my tank as an example with the picture of like the fish milky white swimming in milk kalkwasser. So no one has figured out creative ways to crash their tank more than me. That one was crazy. I think what I did is I was running. This is why I don't run calc in my ATO, by the way. Calc was in my ATO.
Hmm.
The window right there. There's a window right over here somewhere in the back there, right beside the tank.
Yep.
There's a window somewhere. So I had the air hose going outside, and something happened. Right now, the way I do it, I have a rigid tubing going, and then I have insulation. When they close the window, the rigid tubing keeps it open, and there's insulation so cold air doesn't escape.
Yeah.
Back then, I didn't have it. So when someone closed the window, they pinched the cord. Of course, the skimmer then isn't.
It's choking it out.
Yeah. So then it overflowed because it was close to the edge of the tank. Water was going over the edge of the sump, and then the top was topping off. So I came home. The tank was milky white.
Dang.
So don't feel bad. No one has figured out how to creative ways more than I do. So don't feel bad. This is a judgment-free zone.
Yeah, this is like airing out the reefing laundry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All my frags from last week are still polypy and surviving. Good start for the NIOS.
Ooh.
Oh.
I got some good frags from Steve Garrett, and I wish I had it in there. But Steve Garrett's specialty is he grows his frags on these little pieces of glass. He gets old tank glass and cuts it up. So when you see frags on glass, that's Steve Garrett. Oh, Tev.
Good stuff.
I'm gonna say, he has an outdoor tank. It's outdoor in sunlight. Oh man, this is why you gotta come to these shows, man. We went to Steve Garrett's house and saw his tank. It is outside, sunlight. And what Steve has done is put LEDs, underwater LEDs. These are not to grow anything. It's just so when you're outside, you can. It's just so when you're outside, you can.
That's cool.
That
eh?
underwater LEDs that's just the view to coral. I always thought when something is under daylight, when corals are under sunlight, I always thought they didn't have any color. But he said no, the colors are just washed out. The color is there, you just can't see it. So he has a way to cover it that filters out a lot of the white light. But Dev, like that was again underwater LEDs, and it's oh my gosh, it's hard to see. But
that's pretty cool. Are the lights actually submerged?
Yeah, they're submerged. I have one where I'm like panning across his yard, but look at that. That's his outdoor. And this is 20 years old. Like he's made iterations, but dude, like this
That's
is
cool.
not something you see that little that looks like the
Yeah.
northern lights. That's just the covers
I,
that come down during the day to cover the tank. But
I
that's
Googled
outside.
image it and I'm looking at a photo of it too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, dude, that's yeah. That is the sumps are. It's 20. Like again, he's made changes, but the fact is
Mhm.
that this has been there for 20 years, and the covers are blue. So I think he filters a lot of the light and lets the
Yeah,
blue. Dude, awesome.
that's pretty cool.
Steve Garrett. Website is Garrett's Acropolis. Unfortunately, Steve Garrett doesn't ship, which is a bummer. I'm trying to get Steve to ship, and he's like, no. Every year I go there and I see Steve, I'm like, you should ship, and he says no. But you
Yeah,
know, I'm working on it.
that's pretty cool though.
Yeah. Oh,
Huh.
pretty cool doesn't do it justice.
I need to
It
go now.
is. Yeah.
All right, next year I'll have to come. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That looks awesome. I think I've watched a video like ages ago of like the outdoor reef tank, and I'm pretty sure it was his. Like how many
Better
people have a
now.
reef tank in their yard? Like,
Better now. Like better, and he's 20 years. Other than what's his name? Oh my gosh, there's another guy in California who I saw. I didn't get a chance to meet him, talk to him, but there's another guy. Oh, Too Many Fish has an outdoor tank, and then of course Tidal Gardens. Maybe there's other people who are doing outdoor at scale. I don't think Fan's considered outdoor anymore
he's
because
a
he painted the
greenhouse.
building. He painted the building.
Yeah,
Painted the building white, which reflects all the light. So technically, it's not outdoor anymore. But that's
I would go bankrupt trying to heat it in the wintertime outside.
yeah, that's why these folks are in California.
Yep. More, it's more. Mine is more and more not a greenhouse every year. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fair.
he painted it white. I think I stopped referring to it in my head as a greenhouse when he painted it white. Now I got the reasons why he did it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not a greenhouse anymore.
Happens. Is the
Yeah.
roof white too?
I think he painted it to reflect the light, which I think it ended up making the building cooler, but it's not a greenhouse anymore. And also, in defense of Fan, I think I saw a video a long time ago where Fan said in the summer there's such a difference. Like I know in New York,
Mm-hmm.
we can get 5 more hours of sunlight in the summer than the winter. And I think
Mm-hmm.
California is a lot more balanced, right? There
Yeah.
might be a little bit of deviation between winter and summer, but I
Mm-hmm.
think their temperature and sunlight is a lot more consistent than the East Coast and where Fan is than Southern California.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. But Garrett's Acropolis, check out the website.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't do it justice.
Yep. Snoop Dogg's Reef, we'll wheel and deal later, buddy. Do some trading. Yeah, it's too bad there's this imaginary line between. You're in Canada, so we're good. But
Okay. Are you going to the Niagara Coral Show?
I don't know. When is it?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
You've been to the one in Connecticut before, right?
Oh, I was talking to. This is completely random, but remember there was a girl in Niagara that I did her tank called Wincy who had I've called the video like super simple reef. Like she had like an awesome tank.
That wasn't super simple.
No, it was simple methods of reefing. She just like dumped in her stuff once a day. Like there was like nothing, no controller. There's like it was very simple. It was ran very
Was that
simply.
the Asian lady?
Yes.
Oh, I remember that video. That lady is a crazy reefer.
Yeah.
There's nothing simple about it. She's like,
She's
I
like a coral
enjoyed that
whisperer.
video though.
Yeah, I did
Oh
too.
no. I really enjoyed that video. In fact, I think about 2 months ago I was doing something and I found it and rewatched it again. I have that bookmarked. I like that video. I think that lady's a little nuts, but her tank is beautiful.
So
Her methods work for her.
that's what I mean. Like, but it was very simplistic way of running it, and it worked well. And now sadly, she's no longer in the hobby. But someone who bought her tank, I don't know about all the coral, but some of it, but bought her tank, messaged me on Instagram. He's like, "Oh, I bought Wincy's old tank." So I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I'm like, "You got to keep me updated on this." So,
Okay, wow.
yeah, so it was just a random message yesterday. I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool."
Ask him to send you pictures.
I did. Yeah, so I don't think it was full all the coral with it, probably some of it, but yeah, I'm still kind of curious to see how it lives on later. Will be interesting. Reefing with O. Do you ever have mollies in your tank, or do you guys ever have problems I've never used mollies. I know some people do because they're tiny and they're good algae eaters once you adapt them to salt. I haven't personally tried it, but I know people that have, and they seem to swear by it.
My LFS has mollies, and I bought a couple. So again, you can't see it, but connected to my saltwater tank is a little look the eShops tank, and I had mollies in it. Oh, I don't know. There's mollies in it. But then something happened, and I ended up putting. I ended up putting just give me a second. I ended up putting like a damsel in it, and it absolutely like killed them. But
dang.
I had them in there. They do a really good job of eating algae.
Feeding algae or eating algae?
Eating algae.
Okay, perfect. That's what I was hoping you were gonna say. Here goes O. Disappeared like a ninja. Dun dun dun.
Sorry,
Welcome back.
I'm still here.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've never tried it, but yeah, that super work for you. And I know a couple local people that have used it, and they seem to be very happy with it.
I didn't acclimate it though. They already had it in salt water at the LFS. But you can tell when you put them in, they go to town on algae almost immediately.
Yeah.
Are those different than the actual like? You know who used to do it a lot and had a bunch of them in his tank? You remember Dave Nano Tanks?
Yeah.
Yeah, he always did it, and he would get the really fancy one, and he would drip them slow over time. And he had a bunch of them in his tank, and they were like an army of algae eaters.
Yeah. I remember that actually. Yeah, I don't know how it's you gotta do it over a week or so. It's like a slow transition, I think. But
I have no idea. I no clue at all.
Yeah. Jake did a great video on mollies. Yeah, so if you Google it, there's tons of people who have done it. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. They're tiny. It's like a good solution for a smaller tank too if you need something to eat the algae. Like I have a bit of my nano. I'm always almost like, should I try one?
You know what? I probably before I actually considered putting them in the work tank, but I just needed a quick algae solution, so I just put a lawnmower blending in it. But mollies were definitely a consideration, like putting an army of them, because I think they're low bioload fish, right? And they eat algae.
Yeah.
So
well, especially in a smaller tank, right, where you can't get away with a lot of the bigger stuff.
I agree. I love them. I just don't acclimate them myself. My LFS does it and has them in salt water. And even when they're in his tank and you're looking at them, you can see them go to town on algae.
Yeah. Yes. I have a bit of cyano in my tank, but otherwise that one's doing pretty good. This one, a little bit of algae, 50-50. It might be an experiment. If anyone has some pre-acclimated, I'll try it. Dun, dun, dun. You're looking at yours debating. You're like, do I need an molly in here? Should we try this?
When I was in California, I got the largest leopard wrasse you'll ever see.
Yeah.
And of course, on Beer Bottom, I had to put like a plastic in with sand. And every night he dive in, you see poof. So he definitely dives in, but he is about 4 inches. I didn't know leopard wrasses, but they came in wild. They came in that size. I have 2 of them. One looks okay. The other one, it looks really healthy and vibrant, but it was just interesting. Like I've never seen them that big.
I don't think I've had. I'd say probably about 3 inches is the biggest I've seen. Yeah. So that's cool. Yai Kumar. Mollies eat diatoms. Good to know. I don't know.
Yeah, someone said I have a molly in my Josh Allen, who seems like he's from New York. The quarterback of the Buffalo Bills is Josh Allen, so that's his name. Maybe that's the quarterback, Josh Allen. You never know.
Never know. Could be in your reef tags.
He says he got him from Pieces of the Ocean, so I'm guessing he's on Long Island.
Okay.
It's Poto. Poto is on Long Island.
I'm glad you know what Poto meant. I was trying to figure it out.
Pieces of the Ocean.
Okay.
That's where Sabella Fella works.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, Pieces of the Ocean.
Nice.
They do live sales. They have some really nice stuff. It's too busy. Back when Billy Pipes was in the hobby, that's one of the stores we would have like the Saturday meetups. It's a really nice store. It's a small store, but they make really good use of the space. You know, it's a New York thing. We have to make use of space.
Yep.
But in terms of like their SPS tanks, awesome.
Yeah. Josh Allen, Brooklyn, Poto's Staten Island. We met at Rap.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, Josh Allen.
Yep.
Quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. Can I get your autograph next time, Josh?
Dun, dun, dun. I don't know. Okay, we got 10, 15 minutes, and I gotta wrap her up. But any other big mistakes that you've made or common ones that come to mind?
Heater, turning up your lights when you have a new tank. I think a lot of them are related to when your tank is new. Like your tank is new, turning on your lights. Like you have no coral in there. Like I think when you have a new tank and you have no coral,
no point.
Turning on your lights puts you at a disadvantage because then you're fighting algae from day one when you don't need to.
Yep.
So that is a big mistake that we continue to make. People continue to make over time. I see it all the time. Like I have a new tank algae, and then you're like, you have a Radion, and it's like a full on, like a full on tank full of light, spread light everywhere,
but
that's not.
Put on it like 5%. It doesn't need to be at 50% on your brand new tank until you start adding coral that actually need it, right?
Or just turn it on at night when you want to see the fish. Like keep it off. The fish will be fine with ambient light. They can see what's going on. So just turn it on at night when you just plug it in at night when you want to see what's going on. And then when you add coral, you slowly turn it up. But yeah, that's a common one.
Do you get Australian stripies in Canada for aptasia? I've seen them for sale. I have not tried them, and I also heard that they can potentially eat other coral, but I've also heard good things with them and aptasia eating.
I think Dupree's in the chat. I don't know if he's in the chat anymore, but I think he has some stripies. Yeah. He's in Florida, and I think he got some stripies. I don't know where he got them, but he got some stripies.
I've seen them for sale here. I think they're not cheap, though.
Has two. No, they're not. You're coming from Australia.
Makes sense. So yes, I have seen them in Canada. Now, if anyone has one, has it been trouble? Like, has it eaten or went after any of your corals, or has it been fine? I'm also curious to know that one.
I think they're monster aptasia eaters, but I think they also go after.
Yep.
Is that your son I hear in the background?
Yep. This is why I normally use AI noise cancellation.
All right.
So you don't hear that.
No, it's all right. It's all good. Listen, man, I don't have young kids anymore, but I understand, man. We've all been there.
Yep.
It's all good.
Singing the song with life. People in the background.
This is life. This is what people experience, man. Like, it happens.
I know. We'll see how well they work. I'm also getting some noise panels for the office to help like reduce echoes and like make it sound better in here on the feature list. So slowly but surely. One mistake I did was trying to cut my anemone and killing it. Yeah, removing an anemone can actually be tricky because those foots are sticky and you got to be careful not to damage the foot. So like I've fought those battles, try to use credit cards or ice and different things, or just like, using the edge of your finger, just trying to like slowly annoy it until it lifts his foot up. Like they can definitely be tricky to like get rid of a bubble tip or get it out, especially if its foot is in a hole. That makes it really tricky.
So I get your answer, but I think what Kumar was asking about was cutting it in two.
No, which is funny that an enemy, you could cut its foot and do that, but you can cut one in half and they'll both live.
Yeah, I've done it before.
Yep.
I feel that you need a healthy one at first, and then you need a really, like, the sharpest knife is a hobby knife, and then it needs to be sterile. Really sharp. Yes. Not even sterile because you're doing it underwater, just like, it needs to be really sharp because it causes a lot of trauma if it's not sharp.
Yeah, that's fair. Super clean cut. That's probably the difference, actually, is like very precise, clean cut, the mouth symbol half versus like a tear that's not clean.
But I agree with Masimitra that if you get a strain that propagates a lot and feed the mess out of the tank, and they will, because I've had strains, I've seen folks with strains that don't split, and then I had a strain that split, kept splitting. So get a strain that splits. If that's something you want and you want like a business or whatever surrounded, try to find a strain that splits often and then feed the mess out of it.
Yeah.
I find that you feed the mess out of it, and then when you do water changes with like slightly colder water, they would split. Maybe it's a defense mechanism, but yeah.
Yep. My pineapple tree, i.e. green Kenya tree, is giving off new ones. Yeah, Kenya trees, they'll just throw it off little babies here, like Oprah's like, you get a baby. Everywhere, those things take over.
Yeah, Kenya tree, green star polyps, certain zoas.
Yep. You know, I oddly miss GSP a little bit for that like green grassy meadow and how bright it is, but it's one of those things. It can be cool, it can be a pain, depends where you have it in your tank. Yep.
That's true.
What happened to that?
Yeah.
I had a super green Nephia. Maybe I gave it to my buddy. It's like, wait a minute, I don't recall seeing this one in my tanks. Yeah. So yeah, there's certain corals that, yeah, there's a love-hate relationship.
One other thing that I again, this might be projecting his failures on other people, but messing with stuff before you go on vacation.
Wise.
We've warned people about that, but that is something. One is not taking care of stuff, so then you leave on vacation and it fails because you haven't maintained it. The other thing is like, I've installed a return pump 2 days before I went on vacation, and little things like that. So don't
do some drastic change to your dosing. Top off your stuff. Sure.
Yeah.
Empty your skimmer cup. Yes, but don't make any big changes.
Yeah, don't adjust it on the airplane, things like that.
Exactly. Very wise advice. Do what we do. Do what we say, not what we do. Yeah. Blow up the water and float. Yep. Tinkering with the skimmer before leaving. Yeah. Empty the cup, fine, but don't adjust anything. That's always a good one.
True. Yeah. Happens to the best of us.
I know. All right. Any closing remarks before we wrap her up?
No, I think we've outlined some. We took a long time to get there, but I think we've outlined some really good, I think we've outlined some good points. I do have a PSA, if you can give me a minute. I think those of you know Greg Carroll. I think he lost his Instagram account. It got hacked and he got it back. So he's going through some issues with his Instagram account. So if anybody saw any message from Greg recently, yeah, that wasn't really from him. Someone had taken over his account and was sending malicious messages about crypto and stuff. So I'm apologizing on his behalf. Malicious. Yeah. So I think as of now, you can't find his account because every time he gets it back, I think he gets reported and it sort of gets suspended again. So if you look for Greg on Instagram and you don't see him, G Carroll 1969, it's because he's going through some
issues.
Yeah.
Just on the completely note of that, I've had so many messages of people being like, "Oh, I forgot my Instagram. Can you help me recover it?" I'm like, "No, this is a scam." Like, there's just assume everyone is going to scam you.
And make sure you have 2-factor authentication on.
Yes. Like, no one needs you to put any information in your profile to help them recover their account. Like, that's just BS trying to trick it so they can steal your account. There is so many things that we could go into, but yeah, just assume everyone's going to scam you. I hate to say it, but it's true. Like, it's just ridiculous how rampant it is these days.
Yep. Yeah, I know. And again, Dev, so many people when I was in California, as always, you did get a random message from me. I got to give you context where that came from. There were so many people in California were like, it's always interesting to me how the audiences are so different. Like Instagram and YouTube are its own thing, and people are always like, "Man, I love watching you and Dev. It's like two guys having conversation." And and I always apologize. I'm like, "I'm sorry. We always go off on tangents." And they're like, "No, it's good. It's like you guys are on the phone." I'm like, "Yeah, it's like we're on the phone.
Pretty much it is.
We forget about you. Like, sorry, yeah. But that's why a couple weeks ago you got a random message that says, "Hey, Dev, we should stream more." That's where that came from. I was at the bar and someone was like, some people were like, "Yeah, you guys should stream more." Yeah. And that's where that message came from. So I probably messaged Dev in the middle of the night one night. It was like, "Hey, we should stream more together." And he probably wondered like, like, okay.
Sounds
You know,
good.
in his defense, he said, okay, let's do it. But it's, yeah, sorry.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine, man. That's what you're on today. It worked. I'm just translating that message from Javier. Last Saturday, I left the. Sounds like you left the pump on your Apex on, added 315 mils of alkalinity and 8 DKH. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm using my Duolingo is not that strong. I'm using translator from 8 to 10. That's actually not that bad. 8 to 10 DKH jump isn't terrible. Just turn off your doser and let it drop naturally. If you're still less than 11, I wouldn't stress too much. Just let it drop naturally back down to 8ish, and then turn your doser back on. So yeah, don't stress. You'll be okay. Love the interaction you both have. Thank you. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Next stream from the bar. I mean, we can have cocktails.
Yeah.
I wonder the logistics of like streaming somewhere like that. It'd be loud in the background would be the tricky part. But we can have cocktails. It'd be fun.
It'd probably be awesome.
Hey,
next time we're together,
mm-hmm.
we'll live stream from the bar or from the floor of Reefapalooza. With all the equipment you got, Dev, your AI thing,
then I have to bring a freaking computer, beast of a tower. Like,
what's happened to your laptop?
That can't do all that stuff. I have a beefy desktop to do all this stuff.
Dude, like, no. I have a MacBook Pro, 32 gigs, 1 terabyte M2 Pro. Like, why can't that do it?
Maybe. I don't know if I could do all the fancy noise cancellation.
Excuse you?
That's using it. I'm using the GPU for all that stuff. Anyways.
You know what? I'm offended.
Well, I don't have one, so I don't know. I'm not as fancy.
You know what? I forgot you're an IT Windows person. And I'm a Mac snob, so excuse me.
You're welcome. Anyways, teamwork makes the dream work.
All right. But yeah, I think we should be able to do something, right? If we're together, we should be able to do something. Yeah.
You know, I can use the wireless mics and feed them into a computer, and that's totally doable. I don't, there's potential. Not next stream, but at some point, I'm in.
That means we're going to get Dev to Reefapalooza next year.
Deal. That can be arranged. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. As always, if you did, hit the like button. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. One day we'll make videos, so at least follow me on Instagram for now. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. I got nothing to say because I keep promising Dev that I'm going to make videos and I keep falling short. So thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good night.
Good night.
Cheers.